and good morning, afternoon, evening to you all. Thank you for tuning in. This is really, we're down to almost the end here of our shows for this year. Can you believe it? What a year. But, it's been a great year for advancing your photography in that we have, first created the whole YouTube Live with you guys. And we built our AYP platform, AYP Plus, and our mentorship. So we've been busy beavers here behind the scene, and I think it's going to really pay off next year. So, hey, thank you guys. Sorry we can't see Levitt, right? I guess you're busy, but you put a note in there. Anyway, that's great. And Richard from Cincinnati. And it looks like there's Amy, beginning to look a lot like Christmas. You got snow, huh? Jerry and I were just talking about it. We've got rain here in California, which is always needed. And Roberto in Paris, hello. Bonjour. And Maria and Stephen. Gosh, Stephen, I haven't seen you in a while here. Thanks for joining us from Prescott. And Magus and Nemi. Hey, you guys in Sweden. Love having you here. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to have some fun today. As always, I really enjoy these critiques with you. I hope you do too. So without further ado, let's get this party started. Let me just say who I am. In case you don't know, I'm Marc Silber, author, photographer, educator in Carmel, California. And our show is brought to you by our friends at Bay Photo. You can get cool stuff at a good discount here, 10% off on exposures. Those are really neat. And then you can still, better hurry, you can still get your photo gifts and, make something that's kind of cool and unusual. You can get ornaments. You can get various different things they've got here, 10% off, even a mask. And as always, 25% off on your first order. And help yourself with your own photography, getting it out to the world, and help Bay Photo. And it's just a win all around. So next thing, I don't want to forget to remind you to subscribe, enable the bell so you don't miss any of our shows. Okay. Well, I lately have been starting out with a story, and I thought I'd tell you the story behind this photograph. I find it kind of amusing because, Bob Holmes talks about a punctuation point in your images. Well, how about this for a punctuation point? It was the sun on the ocean making an upside down. Either you could look at it as an I or an upside down exclamation point. I was walking by this scene, and I actually have a video version of this too, which is kind of cool because you can see these. This is a paddleboard, and there's somebody up front on this paddleboard, and there's somebody paddling it. And I waited for them to get into the line of this light, which serves as its own leading line right to the subject. And of course, it leads to the sun as well. But again, I kind of think it's an amusing example of what a punctuation point is and why it works in a photograph. So in this case, the punctuation point is the people on the paddleboard. The line was just kind of a cool thing, and you can see it going all the way up to the shore. I don't know if you guys can see that, but all the way to the very bottom of the photograph, you can still see that line. And of course, that sky, we get these crazy sunsets here. Sometimes I photograph them, I think people are going to think I really heavily processed this image, and I didn't. This is just this orange, beautiful deep orange that you see in our sunsets here in Carmel, California. I wasn't carrying a DSLR or a mirrorless. I was carrying my iPhone. I always have my iPhone with me no matter what. So sometimes this is all I've got, but it worked out pretty well. I did some processing on it. I think I did tweak this or that. I probably upped the blacks and the whites and that sort of thing. Anyway, Don't forget your punctuation points. By the way, Bob Holmes tomorrow, 10 a.m. Make sure you guys are with us. We're gonna pick his brains and see what kinds of stuff we haven't asked him before. So I've got a few questions, and we're gonna definitely delve into that amazing mind of his. Okay, Jared. Well, let's swing on over and start looking at some of the images here. So tell us about this. Do we have your audio going? We don't. Okay, there we go. No? I don't hear you. Well, that's because you're in the green room, and you probably have been... you have been... There we go. That should do it, right? Well, sorry, folks. Let's get this straight here. So, Jared is messaging me. So, what's he saying? Hang on. Sorry, folks. Yeah, you're still in the green room. I thought I had you out of the green room, so let's just fix that right now. Okay. Sorry, folks. We have a new system, and I needed to click a button, and I didn't. There he is.
I was locked in. I was locked out of the room.
We have a green.
Basically,
yeah. Our software. We went to a kind of an additional service with it, but it does have a green room where guests stay. The difficulty is I could see him, but he was still in the green room, and you couldn't hear him. Okay, now we can. We're all set.
All right, let's look at some images.
Yeah.
So this one is from Saad, and he put along with this that this was a 6-month pony or horse that he just, I think it was either like sunrise or sunset. I don't remember.
Okay.
But here, I captured this at sunset
Yep.
with orange light, no flash. The wall gave me a great contrast.
Yes. I love this.
And this was taken in Mosul City.
It was taken what?
In Mosul City, Iraq.
Okay. You know, I love it. It's a portrait of a horse. I'm really fond of doing that, taking portraits of animals. And you have captured this animal, this horse, you know, really well. I love the way he or she is turning, you know, to give you a full profile photograph. And I find that animals will pose for you, you know, whether it's a deer or a horse or a dog. I find that, you know, they definitely do pose. And you have, you know, you've done a good job with this horse at getting her image, and also, as you said, contrasting. I'm sorry, I'm really bumbling around here this morning. I'm trying to get my screen going and the little picture going. There it is.
Early morning.
Yeah, need some more coffee. Anyway, we got too many little buttons to push. So let's see if this will do it. No, that will not do it. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Anyway, yes, you've done well with the contrast. You've got a lot of contrast, which always works well in, you know, bringing out some life and vitality in a photograph. So the pavement, the concrete pavement, it looks like, against the white walls, and then of course the horse itself contrasted against the white wall. So great job. Well done, Saeed. All right.
Yeah. All right. This one is from Sunhel, and I don't think that this one had. This is a vegetable vendor in Mumbai, India.
Wow. Okay. So you've taken a really documentary shot, and there's a lot of green in this photograph. And I think what's happening is that green light is bouncing off his skin, which isn't particularly flattering. So I would pull that down. I try to get rid of that because it's just, there's so much green, the light is obviously just bouncing right onto his skin. And I think it's fine to have the vegetables green, but not his skin. So I just recommend, and he's surrounded by more green. I mean, there's just so much green in this photograph. And his shirt looks green. Looks like he's got a green shirt on. So I would just adjust that skin on his face so that it doesn't have that green, uh, cast to it, and it's there because it's there. I mean, light is bouncing off the greenery, but you could do a local adjustment with that and just remove that green tint. But this is part of a story. It's part of a documentary series that you're doing. You're documenting, this market or perhaps just this one guy, and it works really well in that sense. It's you've heard me differentiate between a standalone photograph and one that really would obviously fit in with another series. But anyway, just pull the green off his skin. I think it'll look a lot better.
All right. Our next photo is taken by Joachim, and this is a shot that he took in Oslo, Norway.
Okay. So we're getting a documentary flavor this morning. I like it.
Yeah, a lot of documentary photos.
Yeah. So okay, you're documenting, whatever this area, maybe part of town, or even maybe this fellow. Uh, Compositionally, you've captured this guy in a moment where he's kind of reflecting and he's smoking a cigarette. What I would like to see, just from a processing standpoint, is a little richer on the blacks, and you've got a fair amount of white in there, but I think you could expand that dynamic range. This is why I use Silver FX Pro, because from my days as a film photographer, I could always get really deep blacks and deep whites, and I want to do that in my digital photography, and I find that's the best way to do it is Silver FX Pro. You can really, find what it'll do. It'll give you a number of different options. They have these templates, and they also have different films, and I'll just cycle through them. I have like a list of favorites. We're going to be doing a class on this, by the way, in the AYP Plus. But you just cycle through, and one of those will usually pop, and it'll just make that image pop even more. But that's my only critique on it. Is let's just bring that up. But compositionally, again, this is part of a documentary series that I see. Okay, good job.
All right. Before we go to the next photo, I just want to point out, and I put a link in the chat if you want your photo to be on here, make sure to submit your photos at AYP Club on Facebook. All right.
Jared said it looks like I think you're talking about this one.
Yes.
It looks like a matte filter was applied. Is that true? If you're here, let us know if that's the case or not. I'm curious. Okay.
Yeah. All right, I saw Eric was in the chat, so this is a photo that he put up. This one, the story behind it is that during the initial shutdown, he was transferred to work in a COVID-19 clinic, and he worked with some amazing nurses, and recently one of them posted a graphic on social media of a nurse as a boxer fighting the coronavirus.
Wow,
so he invited her for a shoot session at a local boxing ring to sort of recreate that in an actual photo.
Very clever, and the red just pops right out of there, and she's got this very determined look on her face. She's got that intention of, I am fighting this thing. So it works really well. This is using a metaphor, which is boxing, fighting, for what she as a nurse is doing. And that tells a story. And metaphors are a really strong device in any kind of visual storytelling. We use them a lot in our videos. Somebody mentions something about, let's say, being in an expansive space, and you can show such a thing. But your metaphor works really well, and there's a lot of strong colors in there. Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
I think
And
you
Eric
captured it.
says he just put this in the chat. I just presented a blow up of this to her at the
Oh,
hospital.
that's
I'm sure she
fantastic.
really appreciated that.
Well done, and I'm really glad to see that. And that's a really great thing to do with people, by the way, you guys. If you feature somebody in one of your photographs, give them a copy of it. It's it's just a generous thing to do, and it's also just it gives back to them because she's posing for you, and you give her something in return. I think that's a great idea. So well done.
All right. Our next photo. This was taken by Andrew Yantz. He entered this into a local photo competition where the subject matter was ordinary objects. He converted it to black and white and then used the inversion module in Darktable to get the effect. And then he
Yeah.
also said, I couldn't decide whether the leaves at the bottom added or subtracted from the impact of the photo. Post-processing was more difficult with the leaves in.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they're there. I mean, you could have possibly cropped them out of the way, but yeah, I'm more like if we're talking about cropping, I'd like to see the very top of that antenna in the frame. I guess that's an antenna or a cell phone tower or something, whatever it is. Let's just call it a tower. It's cropped just kind of right on the edge there. I'd like to see a little more space, maybe a little headroom even at the top of that would be more, to me, important. I don't see the leaves as being interfering with it at all. But that would be my only thing. It's just when you're composing, remember you're responsible for everything in the frame. Just look at the top of look at all the edges. Bob Holmes will probably mention this again tomorrow. Just scan the edges and just make sure you haven't left anything out or put something in there that you don't want in there. So there you go. It's an interesting sort of like, what is it? It's like sculpture, and obviously it's just pure black and white. So you're experimenting with I assume this is something new to you. Even if it isn't, you're experimenting, which is always a good thing. I'm in favor of that. Okay, just pull back a little bit, either zoom out or pull back physically just a little bit more so we can see the top of that structure.
All right. Next, we're going back to the documentary work. This is Richard's photo. And this one was taken with a Fuji Pro X1 with an 18 millimeter lens.
Wow. Very wide, yes. And interesting because that you've done something that Bob Holmes talks about, which is using a wide angle lens, but getting up close to the subject. So you must be fairly close there. Yeah, there. Thank you. And if you can even make it bigger, it's always nice to fill the frame. And we've got the center of attention being the child and the mother, I would say, together. But clearly framed around all these other people. But my eye goes right to the child. Actually, it just goes kind of simultaneously to the mother and the child. And, that's making a statement because these people are, she's got kind of a resisting a hate thing on the swastika. And here she is with the child. So it works really well. I'm going to just make the same note as far as black and whites. I think you can pull a little more dynamic range out of that, a little deeper on the blacks and a little more on the whites. You can do that in Photoshop or Lightroom. You hold down on a Mac, you hold down the Option key, and as you move the slider, you will see how far you can go without overdoing the blacks or the whites. And it's a really handy tool because you can then, I move my blacks all the way as far as I can before I start blowing out those blacks or the whites. And you can just increase that dynamic range. But again, this is why I love Silver Effects Pro, because it will mimic film of different types, and this looks like a film shot. This reminds me of a shot maybe even from the 60s. I was part of a lot of demonstrations, and I used to photograph these, and it could be shot with a film camera back then. So, but compositionally, you nailed it. You got the subjects right in the center of the frame. They're framed well. You could argue, well, should we have a shallower depth of field? It's okay, because what happens is the people behind and the people to the sides just form a frame, so they don't interfere with, my view of the mother and the child, and it actually kind of gives me some more depth to it. So it works really well. Good job.
Yeah. And Jared asked a question. Is that a crop sensor camera? Either way, it's a great shot and a good use of a wide angle lens.
Yeah.
And something else I noticed as you were talking, I hadn't noticed it before, but I just noticed that they're covering up this kid's face.
Oh, you're right.
Here.
Look at that. Yes, thank you.
I hadn't
noticed that.
Because you're so focused right here,
very
and then I just
interesting.
kind of looked to the right, and I just almost laughed at seeing that. So
Well,
that was.
I get it. As a parent, maybe you don't want your child being photographed, and that's a responsible adult. Yeah, great.
Yeah. All right. Our next photo that we've got here. This is from. It's coming up. This is from Partha Sen. No information with this one.
Well, it's an amusing photograph, sticking out tongue. It's I see this as part of a series. This is a series photograph. We should come up with some kind of titling for this. I'll do it with. Dan calls them transitional photographs. There's a different name, linking photographs. But I see this as part of a story. Maybe these two girls walking down the road. I would say my only thing, I'd probably have cropped out this leaf on the right-hand side. Pulls my attention over there. Yeah. It's not quite, working as a framing device. So I'd probably go for cropping that out of the way. And you could do that in the camera just by, moving a little bit in and turning your camera more towards these girls. Because it's, we have the frame on the left-hand side with the leaves and the other trees, whatever, banana trees or whatever these are. But having said that, we would then lose some of the road there. That's why you'd have to move your position just a little bit over to the left. I think you'd have it. Keep the road in because that's a leading line. And then you got your girls there. But anyway, it's it's an amusing photograph, and it captures life and spirit, which is what we're all about. I'd also say don't cut off her feet. I think that's an interesting part of what we see going on. So just again, look at the whole frame. Turn your camera down a little bit, or move down a little bit, so that we don't, cut off the girl in the foreground's feet. The other one, we can see her feet, and that's really adds to the dynamic nature of the photograph, because she's got that foot lifted up and she's moving. So just pull back a little bit and change your direction just a little bit to get rid of the leaf on the right. That would be my critique. You can do this, you can work on that leaf with cropping, but I'd rather see you move over a little bit so we don't lose the road. But it's a great image. Good work. Keep going.
All right. Our next one comes from Daniel up in Wisconsin.
Wow.
He said, nobody was brave enough on a windy, snowy day to be my punctuation, but the desolation scene was really what I was after anyways.
Yeah, you got it. It's so you needed a little punctuation, and there wasn't anybody there, but you do you captured its beautiful black and white high contrast, due to the nature of the snow on the trees, it's high contrast, which is kind of a natural high contrast, and it works really well. Yes, it would be cool if something moved into that frame, dog, tree, I'm not a tree, dog, bird, person, bicycle, they're not going to be riding by skier, cross country skier, deer, snowmobile maybe. Okay, that would be a definite contrast to this, beautiful natural scene. Anyway, that would be, you already know that because you brought it up. But it's well exposed and good job.
All right, and then our next one. This is from our friend Sandy.
Just
Sandy
wait a minute,
Pan.
just one other little comment. Go back to the last one. The only other thing I would say, you almost got an S turn here.
Here.
Yeah, we're just missing that right hand turn there a little bit. So if you were to have moved just a little bit over this way towards
Over
the left hand side, yeah, I think you would have grabbed that corner there. You see what I mean? I'd love to see that. Just if you got an S curve, go with it. Whenever you have one, try to get the eye so we can see the whole turn. Anyway, that's just another little thing. Okay, back to Sandy. Sandy.
Yes,
hey.
I'm actually going to grab a different one. He just put up another one as well, and I really like this one. I've never seen him post this one before.
Go back
no
to the one he
with it.
had, though. I wanted to see that.
Okay. I'll bring that up. That's right.
Since we were just in the middle. Okay. Well, you've done a great job on framing this image, with the fringe. Bob Holmes talks about punctuation can be not just a person, but a thing. In this case, you've got excellent framing, and you've got the texture of the water is beautiful, and the reflection. It's an all-around. It really works well. And, you've got a lot of detail in the clouds. Okay, now let's look at the other one. Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay. So there's your punctuation. Bottom right, the guy. Very interesting image. A lot going on here since we've got, this sculpture dominating the frame, obviously. Beautiful clouds in the background. And also this fence gives this kind of interesting texture. But the guy walking into the frame definitely is your punctuation point. So good job. You got it.
And it shows how big this is. I didn't realize how big.
That's the other thing about adding people to your frame. Yes, if you take that person out of there, it could be 3 feet tall, right? It could be 6 feet tall. I mean, you kind of judge a little bit from the fence. But once we see a person in there, it puts the whole image into perspective. That's another thing Bob talks about, why you add people to the frame. Okay, good job, Sandy.
All right. This one is from Roberto. I don't believe that this one had... Yeah, this one doesn't have a caption with it.
Okay, Roberto, I love the environment of this image. You've kind of got us into a sepia tone, processing. I would like to see a little more on the girl's gesture. I feel like it's almost there, like maybe a couple more frames. Something's going to happen with this other hand. Maybe the other thing is, and Bob talks about this, you get the separation of the legs. Like if we had those legs, she's walking, so you're going to get a lot of opportunities to, press the shutter. Just keep pressing the shutter. Let's get a little more, dynamicness, dynamic quality to this, which would be the legs being separate, and then maybe something else happening with that other hand. You've set the stage. You've got something that's going to work. Just take enough images until you get what's called the money shot, which is, when you press that shutter. You know how it is, you guys? You just go, wow, that was it. That was what I was here for. So you're almost there. Just a little bit more.
Roberto's in the comments and or in the chat, and he said that that's actually the natural tone from the light
Oh,
in the
okay.
tunnel.
That's even better.
Yeah.
I'm happier with it because I'm not a huge fan of sepia, but it is amazing how that just created this. Look at that, just pure sepia, and so it wasn't processed that way, and it wasn't as a you didn't desaturate it or anything. Okay. Anyway, you got the stage set beautifully. Keep pressing the shutter.
Yep. And then just quick going back, he mentioned in the comments that this is 112 feet tall, which
Yes,
for
that makes sense.
non-Americans is 34 meters. So yeah, quite big.
You see, again, without the man, you might think it's 20 feet, right? I would. If I looked at the fence, I get, well, I don't know, it could be a short fence, it could be a 2 foot high fence or whatever. So that definitely gives scale to the photograph, which is important.
All right. Our next photo is from our friend Magnus.
Magnus.
He put in the comments for this that this is the Cyclone Cross in Sweden. I'm not going to be able to pronounce the name of that city.
Okay.
But in Sweden, the competition is part of the Swedish CX Trophy and the SWE Cup.
Yeah, well, you've done a really good job with your depth of field. So we see those other bicyclists, but they're not in focus. Selective focus is a really powerful tool, obviously, in your composition. Decide where you want the eye to go, and that's where you focus. And, he's making a lot of effort getting up that hill. There's also some leading lines going on here. Actually, several sets. You got the white and the trail. So there's kind of two sets of leading lines, which, helps. And then we've got the edge on the left-hand side, the white. I guess they're right. Wow, that's a difficult terrain to go up. But anyway, you've done a great job capturing him. You got, you didn't cut off his head. You've got him in the frame. He's at a slight diagonal, which is going to give that feeling of motion. It's amazing what you can do. Just, getting that diagonal in there to give it that feeling of motion and energy. So you've done a good job. Well done.
All right.
Good work,
This
you guys.
one-
I love seeing your work. This is really great.
Yeah, there's a reason this is our favorite show.
Yeah,
Because you guys
no,
do such great work.
it's awesome.
All right. This one's from Divya. No caption with this one.
I have to figure out what I'm looking at. I mean, it's interesting.
I think they're herding cows, it looks
I know,
like.
but it looks like a tunnel, and I don't think that's what it is.
No, but I think
just-
that's like a car there.
Yeah.
looks like
Anyway, I
they're-
like the image a lot.
Yeah.
It draws me in. I'm immediately I know where I'm going to look. It's it leaves me asking questions, and it's got backlighting on the animals. It's interesting, and the light source itself is like, what is this? Is it a pair of headlights? I don't know what it is, but that's fine. Leave me asking questions. And you couldn't have, it wouldn't have been anything, obviously, without whatever that light source was. It would just be a black mass of nothing. You couldn't see it. So you've done a great job of capturing natural, well, not natural, but light that's in the environment itself, and showing a little story of somebody herding cows or whatever this is. And then we've got sort of this is past the golden hours into the blue hour here. It's sort of almost like in between. And that works really well. So great job. I love it.
All right. Our next one. This is from our friend Robin Mitchell, and it's titled First Light.
Okay, I guess we have an answer here. Let's just go back. So Divya said, let's click your... Farmers are walking back from the field, looks like. It's backlit with car's headlight. Okay, thanks for answering that. But you did a great job. Yeah, we kind of surmise that, but it's you well captured. Good job. Okay,
All
good.
right. So yeah, this is Robin Mitchell's, and it's called First Delight.
First light.
Yep, I'm
Okay.
guessing because he just caught the light as it just started. So I'm guessing
Ah,
this
okay.
is a sunrise picture.
So, well done on that as far as getting that light and the sky, the transition from dark sky to brightening up works really well. I don't have a center of attention, though, no a center of interest. There's nothing, I mean, that you could say, well, maybe the whole upper part is. It is in a way, but it's too broad. I need to see something pulling my eye to one specific part of this image. Um, that could be the light hitting that tree a little bit more. I'm just having to kind of guess at some things. Sometimes it's a bird in the image or something that just says, "Hey, look at this. This is my center of interest." But you've got your shot is set. It's ready to go. It's sometimes just a matter of just finding that exact moment where the light is, hitting a specific thing. A classic example, and Jared, why don't you let's talk about this. Bring up, if you would, Ansel
Okay.
Adams' Moon over Hernandez, New Mexico. And this is a classic example of what I'm talking about here. So, in this, I have a video of his son telling the story. His son, Michael, was in the car with him, along with another really iconic photographer, Cedric Wright, I believe, who was in the car. Anyway, Ansel, I'll tell this real briefly. Ansel was a little bummed out because he'd been photographing and he really hadn't gotten anything that day that he was happy with. And then he came along this scene. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if you can enlarge that.
Yeah, I was trying to find a good size version of it. A lot of the
Yeah.
ones I was finding were quite small.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so he came across this scene, and what really made this pop is the light hitting these tombstones, these grave markers. Bam! And he knew he had just a second to capture it because that was going to be, the element that just made this image pop. Of course, you've got the moon. That's really cool, but it was the light striking on those gravestones which elevated this image tremendously. Now imagine, just kind of use your power of visualization and think about the light not being on there. It's an interesting photograph, but it doesn't have, the striking quality. He lost his light meter. He could not find it, so he had to do a mental calculation. And Ansel was such a scientist with his photography that he actually did this. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but he did this whole mental calculation and determined the exposure. I have a video of this. You should watch it. It does not look like this as a negative. It was actually quite washed out, and he was able to, in the darkroom, bring it up. But he overcame the challenge of not having a light meter, doing it in his head, exposing it, and then having to go into the darkroom and fix it. Anyway, going back to the other one, I'm just using this as an example of you gotta look for that moment of light or something that makes that image like pop. I hope that makes sense. Okay,
All right.
let's carry on with.
Our
But you guys
next
should
one-
watch that video because it's very interesting. The whole story behind it is very interesting. We'll try to find it and put it up there for you.
Definitely. All right. This is from Yanom. I think that's how you say your name. And this was taken last year in New York City.
Hop
And I believe
on,
it's taken
hop
on
off bus
film.
tours, the best. Okay. So, yeah, you've got kind of two frames going on, which is always interesting. And, we've got the woman frame, for literally frame, excuse me, in the window. And yep, over there. And then we have this guy. And you know what I like about it? If I didn't see the bus at all, I wouldn't know when this was photographed, which is great. Because it gives us this sort of timeless feel. And it feels like, I don't know, it feels like the 40s to me. Maybe the 50s. It feels like a long time ago. So, again, I see this as a documentary image, part of a series. The blacks, and I think you can expand that a little bit, but as a documentary transitional shot or linking shot, it works really well.
All right. This next photo is from our friend Chicagoland Jared.
There he is.
The story with this was snow just north of us and bone-chilling winds in Lake Geneva. Just a few brave souls. I saw them coming, and I thought that they'd make a turn towards me, but they crossed further away.
Okay. Is this guy walking with poles, right? I mean,
yeah, it looks like it.
Ski poles. Interesting. Okay.
Zooming in.
Yeah, you got a lot of elements working in here. Yeah, so he's walking along with ski poles. Oh, it's a woman walking with ski poles, it looks like. Maybe she was out,
you're right.
Maybe she was out cross-country skiing or something. I love the red on her mittens, helps that pop out. And you've got a nice, not quite an S turn, but it's a curve, and there they are walking on the, through the intersection of it. It's an interesting photograph, and it's framed, with the branch. I'm curious so I guess the point was that they had turned before you were hoping they would turn towards you.
I think they were over here, and he thought that they were going to come towards him, but they ended up going across the street instead.
I get it. Okay, yeah. Well, you captured a moment. This is a slice of life in your town, which is I see that as, again, part of a story, maybe about those people, maybe about the town, but I see it as, part of a series of images, and it's from that point it's interesting.
All right, here's a fun one. This is from Lucian. And the title of this one is Enjoying the Sun.
Yeah, wonderful. You've got, I love the outstretched wings and the reflection in the water and the little starburst coming through there. That's a punctuation point. But the star of this, the hero of this photograph, is this goose. And what's great is the feathers. Had you not gotten that, it would be kind of not that interesting, because, those feathers form just an interesting point of texture and design. And the reflection in the water works really well. The goose is facing, the sunlight. It works really well. So, and it's got very subtle. I don't know if you processed it this way or it was just because of the light itself. Looks like a little bit of processing. I'm not sure. Maybe you could just leave a comment. It's always nice to know, are we looking at the color of that light and the subduedness of the light itself? The white of the goose suggests to me that that's, from a white balance point of view, that's a pretty accurate white for that goose. So I'm thinking you didn't really change it, but let us know if you can. I also like the little subtleties of light beyond the trees. There's a little, warm light coming back through the trees. But good job. Excellent.
All right. And here's another animal one. This one's from Zobrier. No caption with it.
Oh, look at the feet. I just saw the feet. That's cool. I like that. Are those your own feet? I have used my feet in my photographs, and they work really well. So it's an amusing photograph. It's like the contrast between the dog's paws. I think you're using your own feet. I don't know how else you'd get that image. the paws, kind of the connection of the feet to the paws. And it's, it's a clever photograph. It works really well. I love the sort of smile on the dog's face. Works well as a black and white. Yeah, well done. Good image. And that could also be that stands alone, but it could be part of a series, about this location or the dog or whatever else, you're capturing there. But it works well either way.
All right. This one is from Maria Camp. And the caption along with this one was workers I photographed on a recent visit to a nearby park. I'm not sure what they were doing, but it was interesting to watch them.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got interesting framing because of the jaws of that crane thing. I don't know what there's a name for that, but I don't know what to call it. Excavator. I think that's called an excavator.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So you're digging along. You've got these guys framed within it. You just need to keep photographing until something more interesting happens. Because right now there's no point of center of interest. I've got two guys doing something, but nothing drawing my eye to either one of them. So just keep photographing. I mean, they're framed in that. You're there. You see that it's interesting, but wait for something to happen, like the guy pointing into the other guy, the guy in the white shirt and the pants pointing at the other guy, or the other guy pointing back to the other guy. There's going to be some gesture that's going to come out of this. Maybe they're really frustrated and one of them throws their hands up, or hands the guy a tool, or there's some moment of a decisive moment. There's some moment where something happens that says, that's what this story is about. So just keep photographing. You've got the stage set. Just keep photographing. That's kind of my mantra. And then you've got the other guy framed, that's in the cab of the excavator, which, that's interesting, but that's not the center of attention. So you just got to keep pressing the shutter until you find that decisive moment. Hang in there. Okay, just hang in there, because you'll find it. It will happen. There's always this game I find, when photographing. It's like you feel the photograph. There's a photograph. You sense this, but it hasn't shown up yet. It's like a hide and seek game. You just gotta wait, and maybe it takes 10 minutes. Maybe it takes an hour. Maybe it takes 2 minutes. But wait, just be patient and keep waiting. If you've already figured it out, there's something here, I like this, then it's just wait until you see it. Okay.
They commented in the chat, Maria did, that she was trying her new, to me, zoom lenses.
Okay.
And that the lens was a little heavy for her. She said, don't like a tripod, don't want people to notice me.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to use a tripod. Well, okay, I guess, if the lens is heavy, you got to just set it down for a minute and get, just go back to work. Just, don't let the equipment get in the way of your photography. So either take a break.
But it's good that you're experimenting with it too.
Yeah, exactly. Take a break, get your muscles relaxed a little bit, whatever, and pick it back up again. But stay with it.
And then going back a little bit, so Breyer commented that was in fact their own feet, and that they took this with their mobile phone.
Oh, very well done. Yeah, no, I don't see how that could be other than your own feet, and it's a very clever photograph.
Yeah, and good use of the tools that you have at hand.
Exactly, and good processing too.
This is from Lorraine. And the caption with this one is, I think these two guys were watching the sunset from the cliff after surfing. And then she also asked, should I have done anything differently? Is the sun too bright? Does it ruin the picture? Thanks.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen this exact moment, or been one of these surfers, there's when you get out of the water. I love surfing at sunset. There's just a thrill. A lot of times you get the waves. It's called a glassy. They call it evening glass off, which means the waves get kind of glassy. These aren't particularly glassy. Where is this, by the way, Lorraine? If you're here, let me know where that is. I'm just curious. The sun, I'm not sure what camera you used to capture this with. If it was an iPhone, there's not a lot you're going to do with that sun. Unfortunately, iPhones, at least maybe the 12 is better if you guys are using 12s. Does it handle sun? Because my experience with iPhones, excuse me, is that it just does a terrible job with sunsets. And I don't know if you did or not. The guys are not super sharply in focus, so they're moving a little bit. They're stationary pretty much. So I would say get them in sharper focus. Rebel, it's in San Diego. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, San Diego. And it's a Rebel T6. Okay. So here's the deal. To get that sun doing a better job, you'd have to stop it down, like F16, F22. You were working with not a lot of light, so you'd have to up your ISO, and that would control the sun. And then also a little higher shutter speed, because I think it's just either they're moving a little bit. Yeah, because you know what it is? I think you've got the bush, the little edges of the bushy stuff are a little sharper than they are. So you just change your focus to them. Somebody brought up a question about autofocus. I think it was Penelope. I don't know if she's with us. Autofocus, auto exposure. I do use autofocus, but you want to really make sure that you control the focus points. So if they're a little off and you're focusing on those bushy things, you're gonna miss your autofocus. So I just make sure I move my little control point on the autofocus, and maybe that's what happened here. I don't know, but they could be a little sharper, and then we could get that sun in a little bit better shape with a smaller opening, smaller aperture. But okay, past all those points, I love the feeling of it, the vibe of it. It, does it give me the feeling of being there? It does. And that's what photography is all about. It's like you are passing along to somebody else, you're the way you felt at that moment, and there's a great warm vibe there. Yeah, Jared mentioned that too. It seemed that the autofocus is on the wrong part, and that's probably what happened there. So just make sure you control the focus point on your camera, and you're focusing on the thing you want it to autofocus on, or just go to manual. Sometimes in low light you run into a problem with autofocus as well. So sometimes you gotta just manually focus it. Okay. Anyway, good job. Oh, I like that we can see little dots out there. Those are surfers waiting for a wave.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I just saw that those are little dots. Those are little surfers out there. It's fun.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We've got another silhouette, and this is Machai? Man, I got it right last time because I was listening to it, but I forgot to listen to it before the show today. They were very gracious to let me know that I got it really well last week.
Oh, good.
Photo.
Okay.
But this is silhouette photo, a picture taken about a year ago, a trip for a little rock climbing.
I love it. Where is this, by the way?
That's a good question. You should let us know if you happen to be in the chat.
So, this is, a great silhouette. The colors behind, even though it's silhouette, we can just feel the joy coming from the mom. I love the dog head popping up there. The only thing, this is my only little suggestion, is this little bush thing. I find distracting. And I don't think it helps the frame at all. I just crop it, get rid of it. Just crop it right off. Derp. Or if you, at the time you could have cropped it in the camera. But, and I think that would tighten it up. Yeah, I'm just sort of using my pen as a kind of a crop point. I think you just crop it right out of there. Get it out of the frame.
Like right about here.
Do that and just throw that into either, if you're an AYP Plus, throw it into our community there or into AYP Club. I'd just like to see what that looks like. Do you agree with me? First of all, you don't have to agree with that point, but I think it just cleans up the image and it gives us a much stronger center of focus, and we're not, see, the bush thing is just pulling my eye off to the left. I don't want it to do that. I want it to stay right on those, the mom, the child, and the dog that are all framed together. I like the way the dog is framed in between them. That's really cute. But anyway, great shot. That would be my suggestion there.
And they said that it was taken in Poland. So
in Poland,
which is where they live, I believe.
Okay,
so.
Doing some mountaineering in Poland. Okay, wonderful. Okay, good job. Right. I love the blue and I love the colors and in the sky. It's just awesome.
How many more do you think we got time for, Mark?
A couple more. Do a couple more.
All right. This one is from Andrea.
Another sunset silhouette.
Got a lot of sunsets. This was taken with a Canon EOS T3i. Lens was a 28 to 80 millimeter.
28 to 80. Okay. Beautiful sunset, beautiful silhouette. I would love it if there was more of a action going on with the guy with that pole, because it's interesting. But yeah, what if he was casting? This just goes back to my point about wait for the money shot. That expression, right? The money shot. It's like, wow, boom, and you know it when you see it, right? So you've got a scene like this. It's perfectly set up. It's like, wow, colors, silhouette, everything is there. All we need is that, he's flicking the line forward or something, So, but it's still a beautiful image. I'm just talking about my goal with you guys is if I see something that I think that could elevate it, I'm gonna call it out. But that would be my suggestion there. Just keep being patient, taking photographs. You don't have a lot of time because the sun is going away. So you got to be, you can't lag around and wait too long. You've got maybe 5 minutes. But in that 5 minutes, I bet something's going to happen with this guy because he's out there with a fishing pole. Either that or he raises it up, moves it around, something happens, but your stage is really well set. Okay, let's do a couple. We'll do a couple more.
Yeah, I just saw that we got a couple that were just submitted, so why don't we go through those?
Let's see them.
All right, this is from Paulo Diaz. This was taken in Brussels. The news for the lockdown. This was taken yesterday.
Oh, okay. All right, so we got an interesting frame here, with the buildings and these guys. I'm going to just give you the same thing. What's happening between these two people? Let's get some connection, some gesture, handing off, pointing, something, that brings them together and gets like that decisive moment of, let's say you've got, I'm just looking at it. Who's behind that camera? Nobody's behind that camera. It's interesting.
He's right to the next of it, it looks like.
It's kind of an interesting place for the cameraman to be.
I wonder if he has like a LED screen that he's looking at from that direction.
Could be. But it's interesting way to film. Normally you're behind the camera. So maybe he's just getting his audio checked. That's kind of what it looks like. He doesn't care about the frame yet. He's he's listening into the audio, make sure he's got that. But in a minute, something's going to happen. So the guy that he's filming, who has the pant legs up above his boots, he's going to get animated. He's going to start moving around because when he's in front of the camera, he's going to gesture. So if we wait for that, we wait for some like connection, something's going to pop out of there. So just stay on the scene, keep pressing the shutter, and you'll get it. All right, let's do one or two more.
I think we got two that are here. This one is from Beth Ann Tremper, the other half of our Chicago team.
Yeah.
Evening Christmas lights in Crystal Lake, Illinois, practicing long shutter speeds with a tripod.
Yeah, good job. And you've done. I see what you're doing here. You've used, like F16, F22, so you get the starburst there. And, yep, there's that, starburst. And we've got wide depth of field. Look at how, we're seeing the season's greetings, which is pretty close up, in focus, and this gazebo with the light on it also in focus. So, you're doing good as far as, practicing this technique. It's part of another series of photographs. And, as a series photograph, it works really well.
All right. And our final photo, this one comes from John over in the UK.
Hey, John.
An example of my gig photography.
Yeah, I love the emotion, the raw emotion that we feel in this image. And, it's like her hair is just covering her face. But she's just got this raw emotion. The black and white works, really well. The lighting behind her. I see this as part of a series. And, let's say you're photographing this band, and maybe you have this shot of her, and then maybe another one like looking at her, another one with a guitar guy, So it works well as a series photograph. Good job. We could take one or two more, and then we'll call it a day. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah, nice energy. That's right. There's a lot of energy in that photograph, which is great.
Here's one from Julian Ray, who has a lot of documentary travel photos that he's taken from his work over in Asia. And so this is one of the things. He commented, the hard thing about documentary travel portraiture in medium format is that it really forces you to slow down. The great thing about documentary travel portraiture in medium format is that it really forces you to slow down.
Yes. Medium format. Tell us what you captured this with. So you were very good about looking what was in the frame. You didn't cut off any body parts. All the fingers are there. The toes are there. His head is not interfered with by looking through the window there to that other scene where there's this canisters. So that's very good on your, excellent on your frame. I think this is a really excellent capture all around. And, the colors are super interesting. The deep blue behind, the child. And, the fact that his arms are outstretched kind of filling the frame. And he's clearly the center of interest. But there's this, space behind him which kind of adds, like, what is that? That's that point, we were talking about before, of like, leave them asking questions. So you've done all those things. Good job. Well, listen, you guys, thank you. I love your work. I hope you found my comments constructive. I'm always trying to, either say awesome or, here's what I would say, you can try to improve. And that's the point of this show. And remember, it's called Advancing Your Photography. So that's a continuous thing of advancement. Okay, well, we're going to end off there. Let's, a cover a few newsy items. Bob Holmes tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Please join us, okay? 10 o'clock. We've got Bob himself. He's been out doing a lot of stuff in the field. He's probably going to tell us about it and whatever else is going on. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. AYP Plus this next week, my class is going to be on some interesting compositional tools. I'm always studying and finding new stuff, so I'm going to bring those to the class. Composition is a very big subject. I wrote a whole book about it, so I'm not going to cover in a 1-hour class this entire book, but I am going to pick some key points that I consider really useful, really helpful points of composition. So that's Tuesday at 10 a.m. AYP Plus. And you can join that. We put a special up, right, Jared? We've got a holiday special for you guys.
Yep.
Some discounts on classes and on the memberships. So you should take advantage of that. You want to stick that link in there so they can.
Yep, just about to do that.
Okay. And Bob Holmes' class is being discounted to $97. We've had it there before, and we're putting it back there. You can get it for a short period of time, and it's an awesome class, really great. I followed him around for 2 days, and every time we were in a new scene or whatever, I'm asking him, "What are you doing? What's your shutter speed? What's this? What's that?" Kind of like, so we could see what he's doing as he's doing it. And he was on assignment. This was an actual assignment to get some photographs for a book that he was producing. I'll answer this question. Why does medium format cause you to slow down? Well, okay, medium format is generally, I'm assuming, 2 1/4 square. So that's a negative that's, like this ish. It costs a lot of money to develop it. It costs money for the film. You're not going to just fire these things off. You're thinking about it because you're going to buy the film, maybe process it yourself, get it processed, get it printed. Just by the nature of that whole thing, it's going to slow things down, okay? It's a very good exercise. Even when I'm shooting digital, with my Hasselblad, the whole mechanism is much slower. So it does slow you down, and it's a good tool in that regard. Okay, so AYP Plus Tuesday, Bob Holmes tomorrow. We've got these great discounts. Jared's going to stick them in here. Please, if you haven't already joined AYP Plus, now's your chance. Okay, we've got great classes we're going to be covering. We're going to, after composition, I'm actually going to jump into, because it's going to be the first of the year, some personal development points, goal setting, how to deal with failure, criticism, the stuff that comes back at us that we need to know how to clean our windshields. As we're driving through life, stuff hits our windshield, you know what I mean? And we need to be able to wipe that off and keep going. So I'm going to talk about some of those points. All right, Jared, did I leave anything out?
We are deciding whether or not we're going to do a stream next week. If we do, it would be the 23rd. We were kind of wondering what you guys thought about that. We're trying to decide, so we'd like your feedback.
We'd love your feedback. We were going to maybe give it a miss because we're New Year or Christmas Eve on the 23rd. If you guys really want one, we'll do one for you. If you just let us know, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, and we might do a post on the AYP Club as well, so you can chime in. We'll
do a couple of posts in the, Okay, good. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Enable the bell. You got to enable the bell. It's a 2-step process. Maybe Google, YouTube will fix that. I think they should just make it a 1-step process. But anyway, for now, you got to do it twice. So be sure you do subscribe and enable the bell. Leave your comments. We always, answer them if they need answers or give you a thumbs up, whatever it is. And share, like, subscribe, and say this with me. Super important. Remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Capture life. Okay. That's our new motto. All right, you guys. Stay well. Stay safe. See you tomorrow with Bob at 10 a.m. Okay? Tell your friends. Very important. And